To make your oversized scrunchie, you will need fabric, you would need lace trim, pins, chalk or marker, scissors, ruler, and elastic. I'm using this elastic that I found on Amazon, and they're lovely and stretchy, perfect for this. My pattern measures 71 by 12.5 centimeters. Now we're gonna cut it out. The fabric, you will need 2 pieces of that pattern, so I fold my fabric in half to create 2 layers. Okay, let's cut it out our pieces. Okay, now we're gonna stitch the trim into each of the longer sides of one of the pieces. My trim is quite narrow. It's better if you have wider trim, which is maybe 1 centimeter. My trim is 0.6 centimeters, so I need to create a line, half centimeter line on both longer sides of my fabric, just to have some kind of guide and create seam allowance. And my trim's gonna sit on top of that marker. You won't need to do that if your trim is 1 centimeter or wider, because it's gonna sit nicely on the edge and you will have enough seam allowance on it. That's how it's gonna look when I stitch it. Okay, let's start sewing. My seam allowance is 0.5 centimeter. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So I finished with the trim and gonna place that piece on top of the other right sides together and pin it. Now we're gonna stitch along that existing stitch on exactly on top of it. Okay, so far it should look like this. Now we're gonna stitch on the other side, again on top of the other stitch that we created when we stitched the trim on. Okay, we can turn the right side out. So now I'm gonna iron my scrunchie, making sure that all the scallop edges of the trim are nicely visible. Okay, so it should look something like this. Now I'm marking center of my scrunchie. This will be our guide for the elastic channel that we're gonna do it next. The width of my channel will be 1 centimeter, so I will be stitching 0.5 centimeter on each side of my marker. Okay, it's time for the elastic. Mine, after I cut it, it's measure 14 centimeters. I'm using safety pin to pull the elastic through the channel. When you get to the end of the elastic, make sure you pin that down so it stays secure. Now you can keep going to the end. Your scrunchie should look like this. Now we're gonna stitch securely the end of each end of the elastic. Now we're gonna fold it and line up the seams together and stitch 0.5 centimeter from one end to the other. Make sure you backstitch whenever you start and finishing your seams. Now I'm gonna iron the seams open. So open the seam and press it down so it's nice and flat. I'm doing that from each side of the scrunchie. You will need very sharp scissors to trim each of that seam into 0.3 centimeters, it's 3 millimeters. Now I'm gonna flip the scrunchie and sandwich that seam inside with a 0.5 centimeter seam allowance. You can pin this securely to make sure nothing is moving out of place. Now you can iron that seam. Now I'm gonna fold my scrunchie in like that and give it a gentle steam. Last step will be to join these two seams together. And there you go, your scrunchie is finished. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See you soon!